Travelling with Mounjaro sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it? You pack the pen, you take it with you, job done. Yeah, that's what I thought also. Then you're travelling around Europe in 35 degrees heat, living out of hotels, wondering whether there's going to be a fridge when you arrive. Try not to leave your medication sitting in a roasting hot car. At home, I barely think about any of this. Mounjaro lives in the fridge, injection day comes around, pop it in my belly, job done. Traveling with it has been a completely different story. So today I want to talk about the practical side of traveling with Mounjaro, what I've actually had to deal with on this trip, what worked, what was a complete pain in the backside, and I'll explain the storage requirements for the KwikPen in the UK, and those apply also whether you're traveling or not. But first, happy Sunday. Hope your coffee's strong and your breakfast hits the spot. Welcome to Sunday Coffee Morning. If you're new here, I'm Manda's Midlife and I've been taking Mounjaro now for around 13 months. In that time I've lost 84 pounds and that is exactly 6 stone. I've gone through the different doses, dealt with the side effects, the plateaus, the good weeks, the frustrating weeks, and normally taking it's just part of my normal routine. It lives in the fridge, injection day comes around, I take it and I don't really need to give it much thought. But this is the first time since starting Mounjaro that we've done a proper extended road trip around Europe. Moving from place to place, staying in a different hotel for 3 weeks. And that's where I've discovered there are a few practical things about travelling with Mounjaro that you don't really think about until you're actually doing it. So this isn't going to be me telling you whether you should travel with Mounjaro. It's simply what I've learned actually doing it in the last few weeks. A little later in the video, as always on the Sunday Coffee Morning, I will answer some of the questions you have sent in. And of course, there will be pet peeve of the week. So first up, we're going to talk about temperature. Now, this medication needs to be kept within a specific temperature range. It is all on your box when you receive your medication, but when you're traveling, this stuff is way more important because you need to make sure it doesn't go over these specific temperatures. Now, I'll pop a table on screen. So normal storage is in a fridge between 2 and 8 degrees. Now, there is a room temperature limit that goes along with this, and that is unopened up to 30 degrees for 30 days. Once opened, it needs to be stored in a fridge or at room temperature up to 30 degrees. Now, when you're traveling around Europe, the temperatures have been anywhere between 32 and 38 degrees. This causes an issue. But the table also says no matter what you do, after 30 days from first use, whether at room temperature or in the fridge, 4 weekly doses, you need to bin it. I will let you decide whether you feel you want to bin it after 4 weeks. I'm not telling you what I do, but read between the lines. So if you're on a holiday or a road trip, as I have been, and the temperatures have been anywhere between 32 and 38 degrees, well, one of the biggest issues for me is when it's in the car. Now, I've got 2 ways of dealing with this because I've got one of these cases and it's insulated inside. The pen lives in there and 2 of these little fridge packs. That for me was enough. Also, I was on the ferry for 7 hours and then I was able to put it into the fridge that I've got in the car. So I've bought one of these fridges. It cost me about £100 off Amazon, but not only is it good for keeping the medication cold, it also means I've got cold drinks as I'm traveling. The benefit with this fridge for me is not only will it work off the 12-volt car supply, if I get to a hotel and there's no fridge, it runs off 230, it runs off the mains. Take it out of the car, put it in the room, plug it in, your medication, it's absolutely safe. When I've been traveling around the USA, it seems really common to get fridges in the room. And I thought it was a little bit different in Europe. Just over 2 weeks in now, and there's only been one hotel when I've not had a fridge. So that was when I was able to take the fridge into the room, plug it into the mains, and I was sorted. But it is worth bearing in mind, you may not be so lucky if you're planning on doing a similar trip. You could always ring ahead, speak to the hotel, find out if they've got fridges in the rooms. I also had a comment from one of the viewers saying that a lot of European hotels will actually store medication in their fridge. I've not had to do that yet, but that is really interesting and I really appreciated that comment. One of the big things to remember when you're checking out of the hotel is to make sure you take your medication with you. Make sure you empty the fridge. How many times, and I've certainly done it, where I've left my phone charger plugged in next to the bed and I've left it behind in the hotel. It happens all the time. So it's always worth having a little checklist. Have I got my Mounjaro? Make sure I've got it. Make sure it's in your fridge pack. And then straight in the fridge in the car. Travelling with needles and sharps. Now, obviously at home, I've got a sharps bin. I take the injection, straight in the sharps bin. That's not been the case while I've been away. So I've been storing all my used sharps ready for disposal when I get home. And of course, you need to make sure you take enough medication for your entire trip. I'm away for 3 weeks, so I've made sure that I've got enough medication in that pen. That's going to see me the whole way through this journey. Also, if you're crossing any customs, you need to make sure you've got your packaging or your prescription information with you when you cross any borders, just in case you get searched. Did have quite an intensive search when we left the UK, but there was no issues with the medication. I'm with Bolt Pharmacy, so all my information's online and I can quickly show them my prescription on my phone, should I need to. But these are all things that you need to think about if you're traveling with Mounjaro, and it can be a little bit complicated, but don't let that put you off traveling. It's just another thing you need to plan around. You're already thinking about routes, you're already thinking about hotels, and you've also got to think about, where am I going to store my medication? What am I going to do if this happens? What happens if I forget it? All those kind of things. So again, it's mental load. So yes, absolutely, you can road trip with Mounjaro, and it certainly won't put me off doing it again. But you do need to plan a little bit ahead and prepare. Think about the temperatures that you're going to be dealing with, where you're going to store your pen, what facilities your accommodation has, and how you're going to transport everything safely. None of it is particularly difficult, but it's definitely easier if you thought about it before you're hundreds or maybe thousands of miles away from home. Right, ever so quickly, before we move on to the Q&A and all the questions that you have sent in, if you could do me a favour, just have a listen to this guy who's got an amazing tip for when you're travelling in Rome. So I'm in Rome right now, and it's 37 degrees, but that's not going to stop me staying hydrated, because I've used Protein Wax Genesis Extreme Hydration. All around Rome you're going to find these little fountains. Take a water bottle with you, one scoop, and you're sorted for the rest of the day. Don't forget, you can use my discount code MDM, get yourself a discount off the entire Protein Wax website. Right, let's do these Q&As then. Please bear in mind, I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a pharmacist, I am none of these things. I am literally a man who has taken Mounjaro now for approximately 13 months and is sharing his experience of this journey. So the first question this week is from Scott Mounjaro. Q&A, marks out of 10. How much is your overall confidence and belief change from your journey? Is there anything now on your bucket list that would not have been on it 12 months ago? Confidence-wise, if you'd asked me maybe 12, 13 months ago, I'd probably have said a 4 or 5 out of 10. Now it's possibly an 8. I think it's probably because I'm much more willing to actually do stuff now. I'm not constantly thinking, am I going to manage that walk? Am I going to be knackered? What am I going to look like? Am I going to be covered in sweat? And I don't think you necessarily realise how much those things go through your head subconsciously when you're making decisions about doing one thing or another. As for the bucket list, I don't know. I've never been one that's thought, I want to do a skydive, I want to do a bungee jump, I want to walk the Great Wall of China and all that stuff. So it's not really changed any of the sort of stuff that would be on my bucket list. Probably more things that might have seemed like hard work previously now feel a little bit more possible. Even on this trip that I'm on at the moment, been walking miles and miles around cities in ridiculous heat, up steps, around ruins all day long. 12 months ago, I probably would have done some of it, but I would have not enjoyed it in the same way. I wouldn't have thought so. So I don't think my bucket list has changed. My belief that I can actually do some of these things with a little bit more confidence is probably the difference, Scott, but that's a fantastic question. So next up is Charlie ZG3WK. After a recent health scare, I had to come to terms with potentially not having Mounjaro or any GLP1s in my life anymore. Have you considered what would happen if you couldn't take it anymore? Where would you be? Do you think you'd be able to maintain your weight loss and maybe even lose more? That's really, really tricky, isn't it? And I'm not sure. When I first started this journey, I was a massive advocate of saying that this is all about learning the habits, and this is your opportunity to learn those habits and then move forward, realizing what you should eat, portion control, and all those sort of things. As I'm there now at this stage, I'm not convinced I've learned as much as I should have learned or would be able to stay within the parameters of where my calorie intake, protein intake, hydration, all that kind of thing. And I worry I would sort of return to my previous self where I was eating too much, not exercising enough, all the kind of stuff we know we were doing wrong. I think I'd be better, but I don't think I would have confident enough to stay the way I am or potentially even lose more weight. So yeah, it would be a worry. And obviously I know that at some point I'm going to have to come off these medications, and there are plenty of people who say they're going to take it forever, but is that really a consideration for me? It could be, but I would hope not. And when I get to that point, that's when I'm going to learn whether I would be able to manage without it. It's brilliant having that safety net, isn't it? So it's hard for me to sort of envisage what that might look like if I had to. Obviously, I would do it, wouldn't I? We all would. And we would go with it and see where it takes us, whether we put on weight, lose weight, or stay the same. But yeah, absolutely amazing question, and I really appreciate that. Right, quickly before we do this week's pet peeve, just wanted to say thanks for all your support, everyone. It really means the world to me. Apologies for not getting a video out last week. Wi-Fi in Italy's been absolutely awful, and I do apologise if there's a little bit of background noise on this video, because there's a gentleman down there on a five-a-side pitch who is coaching kids, and he's quite animated with it. So apologies for that. If you could like this video, that would be amazing. It does really help the channel, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. There's plenty of you that watch these videos that are not subscribed. Any support you can give the channel is always gratefully received. Right, let's move on to this week's pet peeve of the week. Now, this pet peeve is from Flying Circus 808. Quite often comments on the channel, always really interesting, always quite in depth, and always quite thought-provoking. But this week's pet peeve is this. When people say, I've got a few aches and pains, I'm a 54-year-old man, that's meant to happen. No, it's not. I'm 70, getting fitter, feeling great, no aches, pains, or medications. Not a jab at Mounjaro users. By meds, I mean the collection of meds young people my age regularly get prescribed. Lost 4 stone 6 years ago, and with smart eating, I have kept it off. 70 is the new 40. Create a positive mindset. I think this was a little dig. I think this is a bit of a dig at my video the other day where I showed how many steps I'd done. I think it was over 14 or 15,000 steps. And I said, yeah, I am aching, but I'm 54. I'm supposed to ache. We're all different is what I'm going to say. And as I said earlier, I really do appreciate your comments because they're always very thought-provoking. But I'm different than you. Anyone watching this video has had different lives, different upbringings, different levels of exercise, different physicalities. I've had bad back in the past where I've needed 2 epidurals. I've got me ouchy shoulder. It's great that you're 70 and you're feeling fitter and healthier than you've ever felt in your life. But that doesn't mean I'm going to feel the same. It doesn't mean Sally watching it's going to feel the same. It doesn't mean Paul's going to feel the same. We've all been through different stuff. We've all experienced different bits and bobs that have happened to us, and we all deal with it differently. And this isn't a moan because it's your pet peeve. I'm just saying how I feel, and that's exactly how I feel. And some days I feel like I'm 70. Some days I feel like I'm 25 again. I do appreciate your pet peeve. If you've got a pet peeve, leave it down below in the comments, mark it pet peeve, and you will feature on a Sunday coffee morning or the pet peeve extravaganza episode 2, which should be coming fairly soon. If you think this video has been of some use, please subscribe to the channel and watch me continue my journey as we near an edge ever so close to go away now. I am currently in Rome. I'm sat on the balcony of the hotel and I am melting. I've got a 2-hour drive down to Naples. So I'm going to love you all and leave you. Thank you ever so much for sharing a little bit of your weekend with me. I will, with the Wi-Fi gods permitting, be back on Wednesday for another video. In the meantime, I'm going to pop a few of my videos on the screen right now. One of them is a gift from YouTube that the algorithm thinks you're going to absolutely love. The other one will be last Sunday coffee morning, just in case you missed it and you wanted to catch up. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you so much for watching.